Anne Frank, The Diary of a Young Girl. Saturday, 7th November, 1942. Dear Kitty, Mummy is frightfully irritable, and that always seems to herald unpleasantness for me. Is it just chance that Daddy and Mummy never rebuke Margot, and that they always drop on me for everything? Yesterday evening, for instance, Margot was reading a book with lovely drawings in it. She got up and went upstairs, put the book down, ready to go on with it later. I wasn't doing anything, so picked up the book and started looking at the pictures. Margot came back, saw her book in my hands, wrinkled her forehead, and asked for the book back. Just because I wanted to look a little further on, Margot got more and more angry. Then Mummy joined in. Give the book to Margot. She was reading it, she said. Daddy came into the room. He didn't even know what it was all about, but saw the injured look on Margot's face and promptly dropped on me. I'd like to see what you'd say if Margot ever started looking at one of your books. I gave way at once, laid the book down, and left the room, offended as they thought. It so happened I was neither offended nor cross, just miserable. It wasn't right of Daddy to judge without knowing what the squabble was about. I would have given Margot the book myself, and much more quickly, if Mummy and Daddy hadn't interfered. They took Margot's part at once, as though she were the victim of some great injustice. It's obvious that Mummy would stick up for Margot. She and Margot always do back each other up. I'm so used to that, I'm utterly indifferent to both Mummy's joy and Margot's moods. I love them, but only because they are Mummy and Margot. With Daddy, it's different. If he holds Margot up as an example, approves of what she does, praises and caresses her, then something gnaws at me inside, because I adore Daddy. He is the one I look up to. I don't love anyone in the world but him. He doesn't notice that he treats Margot differently from me. Now, Margot is just the prettiest, sweetest, most beautiful girl in the world. But all the same, I feel I have some right to be taken seriously, too. I have always been the dunce, the ne'er-do-well of the family. I've always had to pay double for my deeds, first with the scolding, and then again because of the way my feelings are hurt. Now I'm not satisfied with this apparent favoritism anymore. I want something from Daddy that he is not able to give me. I'm not jealous of Margot, never have been. I don't envy her good looks or her beauty. It is only that I long for Daddy's real love, not only as his child, but for me and myself. I cling to Daddy because it is only through him that I am able to retain the remnant of a family feeling. Daddy doesn't understand that I need to give vent to my feelings over Mummy sometimes. He doesn't want to talk about it. He simply avoids anything which might lead to remarks about Mummy's failings. Just the same, Mummy and her failings are something I find harder to bear than anything else. I don't know how to keep it all to myself. I can't always be drawing attention to her untidiness, her sarcasm, and her lack of sweetness. Neither can I believe that I'm always in the wrong. We are exact opposites in everything, so naturally we are bound to run up against each other. I don't pronounce judgment on Mummy's character, for that is something I can't judge. I only look at her as a mother, and she just doesn't succeed in being that to me. I have to be my own mother. I've drawn myself apart from them all. I am my own skipper, and later on I shall see where I come to land. All this comes about particularly because I have in my mind's eye an image of what a perfect mother and wife should be, and in her, whom I must call mother, I find no trace of that image. I am always making resolutions not to notice Mummy's bad example. I want to see only the good side of her and to seek in myself what I cannot find in her. But it doesn't work, and the worst of it is that neither Daddy nor Mummy understands this gap in my life, and I blame them for it. I wondered if anyone can ever succeed in making their children absolutely content. Sometimes I believe that God wants to try me, both now and later on. I must become good through my own efforts, without examples and without good advice. Then, later on, I shall be all the stronger. Who besides me will ever read these letters? From whom but myself shall I get comfort? As I need comforting often, I frequently feel weak and dissatisfied with myself. My shortcomings are too great. I know this, and every day I try to improve myself again and again. My treatment varies so much. One day Anne is so sensible and is allowed to know everything. And the next day I hear that Anne is just a silly little goat who doesn't know anything at all and imagines that she's learned a wonderful lot from books. I'm not a baby or a spoiled darling anymore to be laughed at whatever she does. I have my own views, plans, and ideas, though I can't put them into words yet. Oh, so many things bubble up inside me as I lie in bed, having to put up with people I'm fed up with, who always misinterpret my intentions. That's why, in the end, I always come back to my diary. That is where I start and finish, because Kitty is always patient. I'll promise her that I shall persevere, in spite of everything, and find my own way through it all, and swallow my tears. I only wish I could see the results already, or occasionally receive encouragement from someone who loves me. Don't condemn me. Remember, rather, that sometimes I too can reach the bursting point. Yours, Anne. Monday, 9th November, 1942. Dear Kitty, yesterday was Peter's birthday. He was 16. He had some nice presents. Among other things, a game of Monopoly, a razor, and a lighter. Not that he smokes much. It's really just for show. The biggest surprise came from Mr. Van Daan when, at 1 o'clock, he announced that the British had landed in Tunis, Algiers, Casablanca, and Oran. This is the beginning of the end, everyone was saying. But Churchill, the British Prime Minister, who had probably heard the same thing in England, said, "This is not the end. It is not even the beginning of the end, but it is, perhaps, the end of the beginning." Do you see the difference? There is certainly reason for optimism. Stalingrad, the Russian town which they've already been defending for 3 months, still hasn't fallen into German hands. But to return to affairs in our secret den, I must tell you something about our food supply. As you know, we have some real greedy pigs on the top floor. We get our bread from a nice baker, a friend of Kufus. We don't get so much as we used to at home, naturally, but it's sufficient. 4 ration cards have also been bought illegally. Their price is going up all the time. It has now gone from 27 florins to 33. And all that for a little slip of printed paper. In order to have something in the house that will keep, apart from our 150 tins of vegetables, We have bought 270 pounds of dried peas and beans. They are not all for us. Some are for the office people. They are in sacks which hang on hooks in our little passage inside the hidden door. Owing to the weight of the contents, a few stitches in the sacks burst open. So we decided it would be better to put our winter store in the attic, and Peter was given the job of dragging it all up there. He had managed to get 5 of the 6 sacks upstairs intact, and he was just busy pulling up number 6 when the bottom seam of the sack split and a positive hailstorm of brown beans came pouring down and rattled down the stairs. There were about 50 pounds in the sack, and the noise was enough to waken the dead. Downstairs, they thought the old house with all its contents was coming down on them. Thank God there were no strangers in the house. It gave Peter a moment's fright, but he was soon roaring with laughter, especially when he saw me standing at the bottom of the stairs like a little island in the middle of a sea of beans. I was entirely surrounded up to my ankles in beans. Quickly, we started to pick them up, but beans are so slippery and small that they seemed to roll into all the possible and impossible corners and holes. Now, every time anyone goes downstairs, they bend down once or twice in order to be able to present Mrs. Van Daan with a handful of beans. I'd almost forgotten to mention that Daddy is quite better again. Yours, Anne. P.S. The news has just come over from the radio that Algiers has fallen. Morocco, Casablanca, and Iran have been in British hands for several days. Now we're waiting for Tunis. Tuesday, 10th November, 1942. Dear Kitty, great news. We want to take in an 8th person. Yes, really. We've always thought that there was quite enough room and food for one more. We were only afraid of giving Kufus and Kraler more trouble. But now that the appalling stories we hear about Jews are getting even worse, Daddy got hold of the 2 people who had to decide, and they thought it was an excellent plan. It is just as dangerous for 7 as for 8, they said, and quite rightly. When this was settled, we ran through our circle of friends, trying to think of a single person who would fit in well with our family. It wasn't difficult to hit on someone. After Daddy had refused all members of the Van Daan family, we chose a dentist called Albert Dussel, whose wife was fortunate enough to be out of the country when war broke out. He is known to be quiet, and so far as we and Mr. Van Daan can judge from a superficial acquaintance, he is a congenial person. Miep knows him too, so she will be able to make arrangements for him to join us. If he comes, he will have to sleep in my room instead of Margot, who will use the camp bed. Yours, Anne. Thursday, 12th November, 1942. Dear Kitty, Dussel was awfully pleased when Miep told him that she had got a hiding place for him. She urged him to come as soon as possible, preferably Saturday. He thought that this was rather doubtful, since he had to bring his card index up to date first, see to a couple of patients, and settle his accounts. Miep came to us with this news this morning. We thought it was unwise of him to put it off. All these preparations entail explanations to a number of people, whom we would rather keep out of it. Miep is going to ask if he can't manage to come on Saturday after all. Dussel said no. Now he is coming on Monday. I must say I think it's pretty crazy that he doesn't jump at the proposal. Whatever it is, If he were to get picked up outside, would he still be able to do his garden dicks, settle his finances, and see to his patients? Why delay then? I think it's stupid of Daddy to have given in. No other news. Yours, Anne.